Okay, so this one's obviously about soul ties, which I know is like going super viral on TikTok right now, like the concept of soul ties. So I think what that video was trying to show is like a woman who's in a party or some kind of environment with a lot of people and they're all talking or whatever. And then in the midst of it, she gets a revelation of like, where is this other person?
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking, so I've been watching a lot of these videos because I don't know why my algorithm thinks I need to learn about soul ties. But so I guess the idea is that like there's all this commotion and all this activity around you and then boom, you're reminded about that person.
Yeah.
Do I got it right?
Yeah, almost like a trigger.
Yeah, a soul tie. So let me just say this, that you're never going to find the term soul tie in the Bible. It doesn't exist in the Bible as a term, but neither does the Trinity. So you're never going to find the word Trinity in the Bible, but the Trinity is represented in the Bible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So soul tie does have some new age connotations. Like you got to be careful because hashtag witch talk and like the whole new age aspect really is running with the idea of soul ties. But I've done videos on soul ties, even showing me doing deliverance, like breaking soul ties off of people because the concept is real.
Yeah.
So just like the concept of the Trinity is real, we believe it at our church, but you won't read the word Trinity. The concept of a soul tie is real, even though you won't find that phrase in, Genesis to Revelation.
Yeah.
So a soul tie, though, is a neutral term. Because Jonathan had a soul tie to David, that was a positive soul tie. Like they were covenanted to each other from one man to another man. Like they joined together. I believe that even when you attend a church, like you can be connected on a soul level to your pastoral leadership, and that's a beneficial thing. To your children. When you I believe that me and you are connected on a soul level as my daughter, like mentally, emotionally. There's a strong connection, and God uses that.
Yeah.
And I've always told people like soul ties are like umbilical cords almost, and like just how the baby is separate than the mother, but that umbilical cord can bring like fresh nutrients. I think like sometimes and I'm talking in a positive light, like a life-giving, you could have a soul tie where it's like, yeah, this is beneficial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How do you
But then there's a negative side.
Yeah, I was just about to say, how do you decipher whether it's bad or not? Because we see like a lot of those like POV like videos like how we just watched where it's like POV of a soul tie to like the another person, so like your boyfriend or your girlfriend. How do you decipher whether that is that healthy, is that not healthy? Like, how do you decipher that?
Okay, I got the answer. This is gonna help so many people. Where did it originate? Where did it originate? If you slept with the person before you were married, that soul tie is demonic. Because you were a fornicator. If you were married and you slept with someone outside of your marriage, this is crazy because y'all are teens. I'm like, oh man, I went into like adult mode and everyone's
Yucky.
like, can we talk about this? But like if you're married and you sleep with someone, that's adultery.
Yeah.
So that soul tie is adulterous. That soul tie is fornication. Or if you're sitting in class every day, there's a fine line between like, I look at this girl and I have a crush on her, to like, I obsess over her. And if she doesn't become mine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
a demonic
Yeah.
soul tie. So like, again, where did it originate? And then what is the fruit of that soul tie? So if you join a church and you're like, man, I want to covenant to this house. You're going to be my leader. That's my pastor. These are the leaders in my life. Like this is the house where I'm growing and I'm connected to them on a soul level. Then what's the fruit of it? Oh, I'm getting free. I'm getting delivered. Chains are breaking. I'm learning. I'm growing. That's good. You know what I mean? Oh, but here's where you have to go deeper. Man, this is like, put 1 million
juicy.
views on this, YouTube. Because like, okay, but then if you go to a church and they pressure you to attend, they pressure you to give, they pressure you to serve, and then they always make you feel guilty all the time, condemning you. Okay, then you might have covenanted and committed to that house, but what's the result of it? Shame, condemnation, guilt. So that's a demonic soul tie because that's a fake pastor you have. That's a narcissist. So you gotta use discernment.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like people subscribe to this channel.
Ooh, great
Nice
segue.
plug.
Yeah, you like that plug. But like, no, for real, because we need teaching to be like, man, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible, but we need teaching like this to be like, wow, like, okay, I see people join V1 church all the time and they lose weight physically. Their marriage gets stronger. They start reading the Bible like never before. They're worshiping with more freedom. So that soulish connection is freedom. You know what I mean? But then I see other people join a church. So it's not about joining a church, it's about what church you join. Mm-hmm. Just like it's not about like the relationship, it's like how you do it. Yeah. Because it's like sex before marriage, you'll get an ungodly soul tie, which will make you literally lose your mind. Because the Bible says when you commit sexual sin, you commit that sin against your own body. So it's like when you're committing sexual sin before marriage, you're destroying yourself, but then sex after marriage, inside of the context of marriage, is extremely beneficial physically, mentally, emotionally for you and your partner. So it's almost like when you build a fire, like if you build a fire in a fireplace, the whole house is warm.
Yeah.
If you build that same fire 4 feet in front of the fireplace in your living room, you burn the whole house down.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So it's like, I think for me, soul ties are like you need discernment because not all soul ties are demonic, but many of them are.
Yeah. How do you know when you have a soul tie?
I think some of the indicators of a soul tie, and you're talking about like a demonic soul tie, like
right.
that
How
term.
do you know if you have a demonic
Some
soul
of it
tie?
would be like compulsion, extreme obsession, and the videos are showing that.
Yeah.
Like you don't have a life of your own. Like I look at my wife and I, like we are growing independently and we're growing collectively. But if it's all about that other person, if you lose your identity being in a relationship with them and you're like, who am I? I don't even know who I am. No, real relationships help you understand the true you even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Attachment and soul ties are two very different things.
Yes.
Like you can be attached to somebody, like your significant other, and not have a soul tie, but you can't have a soul tie without being attached.
Yeah.
And soul ties are very like a super large attachment where you can't go like seconds without being near them, talking to them.
Yeah.
That's what I would consider a soul tie, like in how to know if you have one.
That's so deep. It's almost really like the difference between I'm here because I want to be here versus I'm here because I have to be here.
Right.
It's like, hey, hey, we're deeply connected versus I'm a prisoner.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah. And going off what Chase said, like a lot of like girls nowadays will be like, oh my gosh, he didn't post me to my Instagram or the Instagram story or Snapchat story. Like, he hates me. He's talking to someone else. Like, they automatically go to these assumptions because like they have a soul tie. Like, they're so involved in the relationship, they can't like see clearly. Like how you were saying, like the attachment is like way too close. And it's like girls that are like 13, 14. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys are so young.
Dude, here would be like the line, obsessions produce assumptions. So like the more you're obsessed, the more you're assuming.
Yes.
You're like, oh, this means this and that means that. And you're living in your head. And that's what I mean. Like that's the result of it. But when you get into a healthy relationship that leads to marriage and like kind of like me and Julie's, it's like I found out more about who I really was through that relationship. And you find a lot of people are just like, oh, when I broke up with him, I didn't even know who I was anymore. And it's like there's your sign.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Chase said about the obsession versus a soul tie, because one of the differences is that a soul tie can be healthy if it's formed in the right way with the right person under the right circumstances, but that obsession can never be healthy because it's going to lead to a decline in your mental health, to you doing things that could risk you, to stalking, to really just unsafe things. So it's harmful for you and it's harmful for them, and it's not good for anyone. But if you have a healthy soul tie, then like go you.
Well, like I think what I heard you saying is like there's a difference between a connection and an obsession.
Yes.
You know, so it's like, and I do believe that God brings people together, you know, in friendships, which Jonathan David is one of them. I do believe that they bring people together like a leader to a congregation, like Paul says, like, hey, you have many teachers, but you only have one spiritual father. And when Paul was saying that, that's sort of a sign of a soul tie, where it's like, hey, they're all your teachers. They're giving you information. You have a lot of teachers, but you only have one spiritual father. Like, we're connected on a soulish level. They're just connecting just to your intellect, but I'm like a father to you. Mm-hmm. And that would be a healthy version because they needed that out of Paul, you know?
Well, real quick, as we're wrapping up, I have a question for you and for a lot of the other people on. What are some ways that we can go about dealing with these soul ties?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I think that when you talk about a soul tie, there's practical and there's supernatural. So the supernatural is you break a soul tie through prayer. And you see me doing that. Like, I have a video on my channel that I could link here to this video now, where there was a woman that she came up for prayer, and immediately in the spiritual realm, I saw what looked like 100 umbilical cords connected to her back. And which to me was God's way of showing me soul ties. And so I just said, I cut and sever every ungodly soul tie off of you now. And when I said that, demons started coming out of her like crazy. When it was over, she came up to me and she said, I've never been able to be delivered from demons. I knew that I needed deliverance, but every time I got prayed for, there was a blockage, and you were the first person that when you prayed, everything came out. She's like, but this is what I've never told anyone. I used to be a prostitute. So every single time as a prostitute that she was sleeping with someone that she wasn't married to, there was an ungodly soul tie, and it accumulated. And demons, they know that. And they're like, yeah, we have legal rights to this body because of the sin. And when she was confessing that sin and repenting, and then all of a sudden I said, okay, devil, you lost your legal rights. She is no longer that person. She's washed by the blood. She's a new creature in Christ. I sever all those ungodly soul ties. Boom, all those demons came out. So
Whoa.
That's the supernatural aspect. And like that is, so go and watch that video after this. But then the natural aspect of it is you also are not just a spirit. You are a body and a soul. So the practical is you have to block them on every social media platform. Like the way that you end obsession is removing the trigger. Like I'm gonna like block, ban, delete their numbers, not just deleted, it's blocked on my phone. Like you have to remove, like if there's items that are connected to that soul tie, you need to literally throw them away. It's like for real, anything that has an emotional component that you look at it and it smells like them, it reminds them that it's like, it all has to go, because that's how you get free. And there's even people who get tattoos of people that represent that soul tie. And it's like, get it removed. Like, you know, my friend Jimmy Levy, like he had a whole video where he was getting tattoos removed off of him that represented other seasons of his life that were soul ties, demonic soul ties. So I would say if you really want to get free, do the supernatural and do the super practical.
That is so good. Well, on behalf of our generation, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
big
real
deal.
And you don't go to witchcraft, because I should end on this now that we're like full-blown podcast, is the problem with TikTok is that it's the new age occult witch version of it. And they're going to tell you burn sage, and they're going to tell you like do this like ritual and do that. And like it's what's going to happen is, and this is why the devil is like so deceptive, is he'll act like it worked just so you keep doing more witchcraft. And people are like, I feel so much better after I did what you told me to do. Yeah, the devil just said, hey, just calm down for a little while. So they go a little bit deeper into witchcraft. And so that's why like you don't, and that's the thing is like if the devil can't stop you from believing in the supernatural, he'll give you false supernatural access. And that's why those soul tie things are going viral. So we need this to go viral too.
Come on.
Share it, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, and get this word out to as many people as possible who you think need this video. And then jump over and watch the video about the woman getting delivered from soul ties. See you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.